This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jake Van Payne, and this morning I have for you 8 stories of the queue, 8 for the rest of the week for Tuesday through Friday, that you deem as conversational starting from Monday. So yesterday's news right now, if you will. And with some of these stories, including Britney Spears, AC/DC, and Elton John, a big musical on the day, as we're getting a bit of a break from the politics. A lot of stories today are entertainment stories, but we still have some very, very deep, detailed ones to get into. So we will get those in a moment. Now, these stories cover the gambit: information, politics, current events, and pop culture news. And as I said, you deem them conversational. We'll explain how that works out, but you help pick these stories for this morning, for this update for the news. Morning as is recorded live, 5:30 a.m. Central Time here in Little Rock, Arkansas. Let's get into the headlines. Remind you first, though, that the Conversation Project is housed, lives online at this is a conversationproject.com. And of course, our email address for comments, complaints, and concerns at the conversation email, conversation inbox at gmail.com. And oh, by the way, if I've not said it yet, today happens to be Tuesday, the 3rd of December, 2024. Math in your head tells you this is 22 days until Christmas. Let's get into the headlines. Go straight to Britney Spears, who is now literally, once again, in many ways, a free woman. And she is free now because her legal divorce is now there. She's legally single after the Sam Asghari divorce is now gone through. As of yesterday, coinciding with her 43rd birthday, which we celebrated in the Little Conversations, Britney Spears is legally single, finalizing her divorce from Sam Asghari. The couple married in 2022, June of, and separated in July of 2023, about a year later. 13 months of marriage, what real math says, the writing from the robot editor. Asghari filed for divorce in August, citing irreconcilable differences. He filed a divorce. Divorce was settled amicably and adhering to terms of the prenuptial agreement. To celebrate her birthday and newfound singleness, Spears embarked on a vacation to Mexico with friends. She shared glimpses of celebrations on Instagram, including a video of a strawberry top chocolate cake. Great way to celebrate with cake. Strawberries, awesome. Meanwhile, Asghari has been focusing on his acting career, and has recently seen in Los Angeles with actress Brooke Irvine, sparking a new relationship. I guess this is a new chapter for Britney Spears, who has way so many chapters in a book that is not quite done being written yet. So happy birthday, happy divorce day, happy life, Britney Spears. Hopefully things will turn out for the better for you on this one. And for Sam, hopefully things will be okay with you on that. Well, that being as well. Let's go back to another beef that's not quite done yet and seems to have backfired. And what specifically backfired is the UMG lawsuit that Drake filed because of Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us, because after filing the lawsuit, sales surged 440% and streams surged 20% after the lawsuit. The recent legal action against Universal Music Group has basically not worked out well for Mr. Drake, because it turned out that Lamar's diss track, Not Like Us, got more popular after people started to talk about it, because it was legal and because it was big. People who weren't really paying attention started paying attention, and people who were paying attention already played it some more. Not Like Us experienced a 444% surge in sales, 20% increase in just straight streaming numbers. In the petition filed in Manhattan, Drake's company Frozen Moments LLC accused UMG of employing bots and engaging in pay-to-play schemes to inflate the track's prominence on platforms like Spotify and Apple Music. UMG denied these claims, asserting that the marketing practices are ethical and the fans determine the music's success. If UMG is to be believed, this was not a bot action. This was people just want to get back at Drake, or want to get more money to Lamar. Probably a little bit of both. Despite the controversy, Not Like Us has achieved significant milestones, amassing over 900 million streams on Spotify, becoming the platform's most streamed diss track. How it ranks with other tracks is not determined in the article, but as far as diss tracks go, it's pretty much the king of the diss. AC/DC, the kings of rock and roll, have announced they're going back on tour. So if you're a fan of high metal and lots of guitars and high kicks and, goby hats and people that scream and really high pitched voices, who you think men shouldn't sing like that, well, guess what? North American tour is coming your way. Tour stops all over the place, kicking off, starting in Minnesota, Minneapolis, ending in Cleveland, because you have to end in Cleveland, going from April the 10th, 2025 to May the 28th. So the first time they're hitting the road in 9 years. And you may think, wow, these guys are kind of old. Why are they hitting the road? Money, popularity, and everything old is new again, as the kids are learning about the love of AC/DC that their parents and sometimes grandparents basically have through. Check out the link in the description so you can see where they are. I have a full list of tour dates. That's really boring to read for you there, but that's the story. AC/DC is coming back to life on stage featuring Angus Young, Brian Johnson, Stevie Young, Matt Long, and Chris Chanley. Tickets go on sale December the 6th. So in a few days, you can start getting your tickets via all the ticket masters and all the masters that you hate to get tickets from. Thunderstruck, How the Hell, You Shook Me All Night Long should be on the set list when it happens. We go to a story that definitely changes the tone of what we're talking about today. And before we take our break to do the first part of asking for stuff, here's a headline that I'm pretty sure you missed out on. This is one that got fair level of attention from you, fair level of conversational attention and engagement from you. So we put this out here because we figured we put it here. This is something you might want to actually talk about. This is something might be something worthy of pulling up in conversation because it's a odd one. No pun intended. The first transgender attorney to argue before the Supreme Court will challenge healthcare ban for minors. This is a story about Chase Strangiato and the attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union. He's going to be the first openly transgender lawyer to argue before the U.S. Supreme Court. On December the 4th, Strangiato, just basically tomorrow, will challenge represent plaintiffs who are challenging Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming medical care for transgender minors. The case is called United States versus Skermetti, examines whether Tennessee's law violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment by prohibiting medical treatments intended to allow minors to identify with gender different from their sex assigned at birth. The case is significant as it addresses the legality of gender-affirming care for minors, a topic that has seen various legislative actions across the United States. Supreme Court decision could have far-reaching implications for transgender rights across healthcare in with many states across the nation and how people work with that. And it's just a side note that a transgender attorney, the very first one, will actually have a case before the Supreme Court dealing with transgender rights for minors. That's really coincidental. It's not. It may be a part, but because maybe he knows the topic going through himself is why they chose him to actually try this case to represent this case. But that's not the real story. The real story is Supreme Court is looking for health care on minors dealing with transgender rights. This thing for Chase, for Strangiato, is a sidebar, if you will. No sidebar, but this is a break from the news. 4 stories on the way coming up, but we need you to give us a little assistance. We need to get more people in the queue, in our conversational bin. So we need you to help share that load. We want you to like the videos that you're watching, like the news articles we're producing, like what we're doing out here. Because if you like it, 1, it tells me I'm on the right track doing good stuff. And 2, it tells the algorithms, all of them, that I should show this thing, although the algorithm probably doesn't represent an eye, but it should show these things to more people to give for more shot. And if there's plenty of likes on it, because people looking for social proof, they will see, hey, people like this. Let me see what it is. Check it out. And hopefully they'll like it as well. If you know some people who actually enjoy this type of programming, share it directly with them so that they can get it right into their eyeballs. And you can have something to talk about, have something to engage with, because that's what we need. This is about engagement. This is not just a pure newscast monologue. This really is about engagement. And the big thing we need for you to do is, if you enjoy us, if you like us, don't let the randomness of an algorithm pop up in your feed to let us know we're out there. Subscribe because the numbers mean something. It's social proof as well. It also helps me gain more prominence going through the internets, and it shows that I'm doing well and doing on track. It's a metric that people look at, people engage in, people look and see how many subscribers. And trust me, I get plenty of comments about me being a low subscriber channel on YouTube, because trolls do that. But you can help the trolls, or help me fight the trolls, by subscribing to this thing, other things, the channels, wherever you're watching this, wherever you're getting this, whether it's on X or on YouTube today. Follow me, subscribe, so you make sure you get this in your feed as it comes out. And of course, when we go live, I should do this live in the morning, you can wake up and get your news from me if that is your choice, or watch it later because it'll be in your feed the rest of the day. Move on to story number 5 for this morning. That story is on the Rose Bowl, which if you didn't know, it's 102 years old. It's hard to believe that one stadium, this stadium here, is a modern-ish stadium, if you will, although the improvements have over time is out there. But right now, they're going to shut down because they plan for more renovations to get the landmark keep on going. So the little old lady is going to little lady will go. The little old lady, totally butchered the line, is going to see some changes around Pasadena as she drives past the Rose Bowl. $80 million renovation is planned to preserve the historic essence, essentially keep it looking like it is, but put new stuff so it's viable for the newer recruits. The kids want new things these days, so they're trying to make it so it's opening for can do more things that are engaging for the community. And of course, for players who are at the Rose Bowl can say they're playing at a high level stadium and, maybe some pro level stuff there as well, because they do pro things there a lot. The initiative is what they're calling the Lasting Legacy Campaign, a collaboration between a Rose Bowl operating company and Rose Bowl Legacy Foundation, people who run the Rose Bowl and people who love it and want to keep it alive. Field level club seats are going to be introduced. Also a new scoreboard, because the big boards are awesome. Fan connectivity, which is upgrades to infrastructures, basically more Wi-Fi, and bowl seating improvements. So they make it better for people sitting inside the bowl to actually see better on the field and get more engagement. 2 primary phases, 6 of the 8 planned projects already funded, so 2 more need to be funded. Renovations are scheduled to be completed ahead of the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. Another reason to get this thing built up to see what's going on. The emphasis is on the investments to help improve the stadium for football, soccer, concerts, and festivals. So says Jens Whedon, the CEO of the Rose Bowl organization. Basically, make it more modern, make it bigger for bigger events, so it can make more money and be a loving fest for the community of Pasadena. Already a great landmark. Keeping it better, keeping it up to date, keeping it technology up to snuff is a big deal for it. We've got sad news to continue to pass on with Elton John. Elton John says he has now basically lost his eyesight. He struggles to see anything, and he announced this when he went to see his new stage musical. He did a lot of the actual music for the Broadway, but the musical, The Devil Wears Prada. And so with that, he went to see one of his early performances. He could not really be around for much in the way of rehearsals, couldn't not really do very much going on. He has said recently he can't really go into the studio and do much work because he can't read. He can't see lyrics. So how can he do stuff? He can still play piano in a sense by feel, but he can't really work on anything new because eyesight achieved that. He got a big ovation at the premiere for this in London and gave a lot of gratitude to the fans and of course his husband David Furnish for essentially being around him to help him be his eyes essentially for all things going on. We are glad to still have an Elton John around. We are sad that he's not in performing shape, but he's 77 years old, so hey, let that man rest. He's earned the time to sit back. The thing is, he wants to work, which is awesome, and unfortunately conditions make it very hard to do. Very sad story. Moving into number 7. Headline: Woman accused in DUI crash that killed newlywed bride pleads guilty. I'm going to read this straight, and we're just kind of move this on through this one because it is a very heavy story. And this one we've covered over and over again, and mostly to the direness and seriousness of it. We've done very little in jokes on this one, trust me, because this is no joking matter. So let's just read this one. Jamie Lee Komorowski, 26, pleaded guilty to charges stemming from an April 2023 incident in Folly Beach, South Carolina, where she drove under the influence and caused a fatal collision that killed Samantha Miller, 34, on her wedding night. Komorowski was driving 65 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone with blood alcohol level 3 times legal limit, where she rear-ended a golf cart carrying Miller and her husband, Eric Hutchinson, who sustained several injuries. In court, Komorowski expressed deep remorse, stating, "I am profoundly sorry for the pain I caused." She was sentenced to 25 years in prison, the maximum penalty for felony DUI resulting in death, with additional concurrent sentences for related charges. Miller's family and Hutchinson conveyed their grief and anger during the prosecutions. Hutchinson, who suffered a brain injury, multiple fractures, shared his ongoing emotional trauma, stating, "I wish I had died that night instead of Sam." Tragic event underscores the devastating consequences of impaired drinking and driving and has profoundly affected the victims' families and the community itself. We mourn the loss. We want to move on from this. Everyone wants to move on from this one. And so we're just going to simply move on to the next story. This story we can add a little levity to because we can use Dinesh D'Souza kind of as a punching bag for this. Now, there's a bit of a swerve in this story, so bear with me. The headline reads, Dinesh D'Souza apologizes for false claims in election conspiracy theory film 2000 Mules. 2000 Mules. 2000 Miles is a whole other thing. Dinesh D'Souza, creator of the 2022 film 2000 Mules, has issued an apology to Mark Andrews, a Georgia man falsely depicted in the film as engaging in ballot fraud during the 2020 election. The film, which alleges widespread voter fraud, which there was none, included surveillance footage of Andrews legally dropping ballots for himself and his family. Despite this, film portrays him as fraudulent, basically stuffing ballots into a box that were not his or that were going to steal the election. Air quotes, steal the election. In his apology, D'Souza acknowledges that inaccurate information was provided regarding the surveillance videos used in the film, leading to a false impression of Andrews' lawful activities. He stated, a quote, I apologize to Mr. Andrews. I make this apology not under the terms of a settlement agreement or under duress, but because it's the right thing to do, given what we have learned now. Prior to D'Souza's apology, Salem Media Group, the film's publisher, settled a defamation lawsuit against Andrews, which is why the apology is coming. As part of the settlement, Salem issued an apology and removed 20,000 Mules from its platforms, stating it had, quote, relied on representation made by us by Dinesh D'Souza and true to the vote. Basically, D'Souza lied to them. They got caught. They had to pay the money up. And so now they're throwing D'Souza on the bus, which means now his apology is there because his movie's not out there. The movie has been widely debunked by law enforcement officials and media outlets for essentially just being fraud in itself. Despite that, the film gained traction among supporters of the false narrative that the 2022 election was stolen because people want to believe. They want to believe. They're given something to believe in. It's a total farce and a total lie and a piece of crap and just all sorts of just the other words I'm not going to say because I don't want to get an E rating this early in the morning, but because people want to believe and people like D'Souza can make money on people who want to believe. Gullible people. It is there. Please. And you're doing your own research. Make sure you're actually doing more research and not just going down rabbit holes, which are being fed to you by an algorithm which thinks you like crazy stuff because it sees it that you like that stuff, even though the stuff, when you sit and think about it, or actually go into it, or do fact checking, or ask people, or end up being sued for it, you find out it's all false. Let's go to our teaser story today. And this is a teaser story that reminds us of our past with a lot of love on things that are sexy. Essentially, anything that's got an OnlyFans in it or a Pornhub in it, we put it out there because we need the clicks. We need you guys to engage in it so that I can get, the engagement for the stuff. In this case, we need the clicks. We need engagement. It's not as sexy as it sounds. It's actually work. It's actually unionizing. The teaser story for the day goes to Belgium, where Belgium becomes the first country to give sex workers robust labor rights and protections. Yes, the sex workers are unionizing. What do you think about that? You can tell me by going to our feeds. Engage with them at Facebook and at x.com/th_conversation. I know Scroll says twitter.com because it's the same thing. And of course, in Facebook, facebook.com/thisisconversationproject. Go to those places, follow us on our feed so that you can see what news stories we're posting, articles every 50 minutes or so on various different topics, various different things. How do these stories get here and how they become conversational? You engage in the stories. You just like them, hit emoji faces, and share them, comment on them, go back and forth on the news articles in those things. And every single morning we open up the Twitter machine and the Facebook machine, and we look at the stories and pull the stats and see which ones get the most engagement. And we give you the ones we think work best. On Mondays, we give you 10 stories. Tuesday through Friday, we give you 8 stories. The 8 stories come from the top half of stories of today. We get about 30 or so in a day. We'll take 15, 16 and shuffle them through, give them 8 that have sort of the best in ways of the big stories, ones that are national headlines, the stories that are not being missed but should be taken care of, that are pretty important, and ones that sometimes, because I'm petty, I get things out there that just really don't really fit. But you guys engage in enough to make it work, so it's there. Are we talking about the unionization of sex workers in Belgium and how it could affect the world or not? It's up to you. Yesterday, we talked about the fines for the Big Ten schools, Michigan and Ohio State, or at least we teased it. We figured it wasn't going to make it in. It was close. It was actually in range, but there were other stories that were more important, even the other ones that we didn't get into because of the 8 headline, 8 headline limit we have. So we didn't talk about that one. That's a weekend story. We'll talk more about that one when we get college football playoffs, a real picture after championship weekend happens this weekend. But sex workers in Belgium. Reaction. Give me a reaction. Let me know if we're talking this one up. I'm not sure what reaction I'm looking for, other than the fact that we use ground news extensively around here to make sure that the news we're covering gets the right coverage, or gets the coverage that it deserves based on how it's being presented. Ground news aggregates news from around the world and lets you know where it's coming from. They don't write stories. They take a story that's popular or sometimes unpopular and searches for where it's being covered. It figures out what story is being covered where and tells you. Why is that important? Because you want to get balanced news. Or if you want to get balanced news, some of you don't really want balanced news. If that's what you actually are looking for, you want to know where it's coming from. And that's a key with ground news. They'll tell you who's covering it, from whether a centrist level like an AP service or a Reuters service that's essentially a at this point in time some sort of service, wire service, that gives you the straight news with as little commentary as possible, or whether it's something more left-leaning like MSNBC or right-leaning like Newsmax. You can see what headlines, what articles, how it's being presented, how it's being written, all there in one dashboard. And if you're missing out on some news, if something I popped up here in one of these stories is like, hey, I didn't see that in my Newsmax feed, or MSNBC isn't talking about that story, there's a reason. And a reason why we give you that wide range of stories in the Conversation Project. They don't want you to see it. So you can see what stories are being held from you with their blind spot feature, showing you what you're missing out in your particular silo. We're all in some sort of silo. I made this thing so I can get more integrated news, because my actual news sources are sort of leftish leaning, because they are. CNN's my main source for TV news, and so I do the aggregation to get the real news, and I try to see what both sides are saying. If you watch one channel or read one feed, you're probably not getting a wide range. Ground news will help you with that, and ground news will help you out with it financially as well, as this is not just some sort of random bot working it. These are people who are curating and doing this work behind the scenes. They need your help. They need to keep this thing going, and they are going to offer you half off a year's worth of subscription right now. So you can get their Vantage plan and get your news for less than $10 a month and get real news, good news. We use this extensively to check our stories. You should check it out for your news as well. Go to our link. It's an affiliate link, so we get a small commission for your buy. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news. This is theconversationproject.com/ground news, and get in on what's going to be a great app, a great website, a great service. That is Ground News. Quick check in with the Conversation Project. Now, we already told you the website is theconversationproject.com. And of course, our email address, theconversationinbox@gmail.com. What we haven't told you, we talked about the feeds, but what we haven't told you is all the things we have at the website that you should check out. If you don't quite get what we're doing, go to the website. There's a link for why we do this, our backstory, if you will. There are links to various other sponsors, because if you think we're doing well, we need your help, need your support. The easiest way is to buy something for yourself, and then we get a small commission for that one. That's how the internet works. If you want to fund us directly, we have partners, and every couple of days and on Fridays, we spotlight the partners, people who sign up for monthly subscriptions to help keep things going. It's not a lot, but every little bit helps going forward. And of course, now we have things like on YouTube specifically, we have merch store being sold there. We have memberships there as well. We have ads running there. So there are various ways we do to support the Conversation Project. The main thing you need to do, if you don't feel like you're up to, or we're not quite up to your dollars, is to follow us on the feeds. If you've gotten this far, you are trying to understand how news works, how things go, and kind of get where we're going with the conversation part of getting the news stories in. Follow the feeds on Facebook and X. Follow us on Threads as well. We do pull them and take on that as well. And let us know what it is that you want to see. Engage in the stories. We'll pull them up here and have more engaging stories, more engaging headlines, more engaging shows. You can also email me at the conversation inbox at gmail.com. Email is great because we can conversate. We can talk back and forth there. You don't have to pay in to talk to me. Just send an email. We'll read it. We take everything in consideration. I don't answer them all because, can't answer all of them, but everyone gets read. Every consideration is taken, even the ones that are just, people trolling. So Conversation Project is here for all of y'all. It's here for me, but for all of y'all. So let's keep it going. The most important thing you do is keep engaging with stuff, because you keep engaging with stuff, I can find ways to make things work. Otherwise, if you want to help out directly, we appreciate all the hands we can get. And hands off, because we're done for the day. This has been the Tuesday, December the 3rd edition for 2024 of Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jake Payne, giving you 8 news stories to start your day off if you're up early with me at 5:56 as you wrap this thing up, or get sort of engaged in your day. We'll do some clips of the stories here. Had some issues with yesterday's feed, the live feed, so it didn't record clean. So we basically just redid some stories that were in the feed. So they're a little different than what was in the clips, but we'll do some clips from today. We'll do some other interjections as things go along. This is all about conversation news. These are about news stories that you might want to chat about that maybe someone else isn't picking up. So we have some to chat with. We also have dropping at about 6:05 in the morning on TikTok and on YouTube. Today's a little bit of conversation, a little extra conversation. It is a little fun facty thing, a quick article, info from a survey to kind of mix things up and be a little lighter going forward. We're seeing how that works out. It seems like it's easier to produce and create right now. The reception, it's only been 2 days or 3 days since Sunday, is new. So it's new, it's fresh, it's not popping up live in your feed, so you're not getting the reactions. So people have to find it and see it. If you're looking for that, give yourself 5 minutes live, or just look for it in your feed if you have subscribed, and you will see it as a little extra conversation. I think tomorrow is the Grim Reaper. I taped them ahead. So tomorrow is death. Today is puppies. I think I have to go back and look at the call sheet and see. In the meantime, we're done for the day. Thank you so much for being a part of the show, whether you watched me live today. For the folks that have popped in live, thank you so much for joining us and sitting through all of this. If you are going to watch this on the feed and later on, comment as you will. Let us know what stories engaged you the best, what stories did not engage well with, and what stories you should try to cover more of, so we can get more of those in there. We will see you with another edition of this thing popping up live, and of course in your feed as well, tomorrow for Wednesday.